Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shilakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Desatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam Ambum langhayate girim Yat kripa tamham bande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Shri Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. I hope you remember something from the last class. In the last class, okay, anyone wants to repeat something from the last class? Just 2-3 minutes. Okay, we'll give you permission to unmute. Yes, anyone would like to speak something from the last class? You remember something from the last class?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah, please tell.
Yeah, actually, why Gita you have explained us, and it will give the realistic and it will navigating the life challenges and teaching us on the duty of detachments and nature of the reality.
Yeah, very good. You told the right word. So we discussed a lot about reality. How Bhagavad Gita is not a book of optimism, neither it's a book of pessimism. It's a book of mute realism. Mute. So it's a book of reality. It takes us to reality. Yes, anyone else would like to say something? You have to unmute, speak, and then again mute so that there is no sound. Okay, yes, anyone else? Yes, Rishita. Yes. What else? Go on, go ahead.
Prabhuji, we basically learned that Srimad Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to utilize stress instead of being utilized by stress.
Yeah, very good. So,
and also that everybody's uniqueness should be celebrated and we should not get bogged down by unnecessary comparisons.
Very good. So we discussed about utilizing stress, and basically stress comes when we go out of reality. And when we go out of reality, when we indulge in unrealistic comparisons. And we saw that how everyone is unique and we don't have to get into unrealistic comparisons. And especially social media, we discussed, creates a air of unrealistic comparison. Yes, Suprojit.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I was about to say that only, that we understood the definition of stress, which is expectation minus reality. So we should be grounded. We should have our expectations, which is more near to the reality. That will help us to reduce stress.
Very good, very good. So you have. So now we will go ahead. So I discussed, if you remember, we are going to discuss about lot of realities which Bhagavad Gita 6 speaks about. Don't make sound. So, and about 5 to 6 realities. So today we will be speaking about one reality, next week one reality, next week one reality. So we discussed that how stress is reduced when we get grounded to reality, right? So what is that reality? Today we're going to learn so that it helps us remain stress free. At the end of today's class, you will be able to understand, yeah, if I just understand this, I can be greatly stress-free in my life. Okay? So we're going to discuss from the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Before that, if you remember, we also discussed another point, which is called how stress is not in a situation. Stress is within our system. Yes, all of you remember this point? We said that stress is within our system. Okay, so now the question is, Bhagavad Gita speaks about reality. Bhagavad Gita speaks about realism. But the point is, we will also use our own eyes to see the reality, correct? So first thing that Bhagavad Gita speaks in the first chapter is, if you open the book Bhagavad Gita and the first chapter title, you see, title of Bhagavad Gita can speak a lot. The chapter title of first chapter is Observing the Armies. What is the first chapter title? Repeat, Observing the Armies. So the first chapter deals about what is our observation, because the first reality is our observation only creates problem. Okay. So you see how the perspective defines us in life. You see this beautiful lady. Okay, the lady looks beautiful. I choose this specific picture. Now this lady, imagine this beautiful lady walking on a dark road in one night, and she's having lot of ornaments. She's wearing lot of ornaments. And with all these ornaments, this lady walking in a deserted road in the night, and this fellow meets this lady. What this fellow will think about the lady? Can anyone say? This fellow.
Do robbery?
No, this fellow, robbery.
Which one? Oh, sorry, to eat.
To eat. Yes, dinner. Correct. Now this fellow, what he will see in the...
Robbery.
You are not... No, robbery nahi. He will see what in the ladies?
The jewelry.
Jewelry. He will see the jewelry. This fellow will see the body. How will I eat? This fellow will see the jewelry. And this fellow?
Comfort. Look.
As a mother. Yes?
As a mother.
Yeah. Looks for home. Yeah.
Looks for love, warmth, care, all these things this fellow will do. Now my question is, has the lady changed?
No.
Though the lady has not changed, the lady is same based on the observation of the tiger, the burglar or the child. The lady is viewed differently, correct? Yes? How many of you are able to understand? Yes. The lady is viewed differently based on the observation, and that's why the first chapter speaks about the perspective that defines us in life. The perspective is very important. So the first reality which we are going to discuss is how to change our perspective. How many of you have always heard this? How many of you have always heard this in outside world in motivational speech? Perspective badlo, perspective badlo, positive dekho. How many of you have heard this? How many of you have heard this? Perspective badalne ka koshish karo. See the positive, see the positive. अरे बोलने से तो नहीं होगा, see the positive, दिखना भी चाहिए उसको. So the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is about observing the army, means observing with the right perspective. Okay, we'll go ahead. So the first chapter introduces the perspective of three persons and helps us understand how to develop the right perspective. whenever we talk about any motivation or stress-free life, anywhere you go, any class you hear, they will talk about perspective. And the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita introduces perspective of three persons. These are the three persons introduced in Bhagavad Gita first chapter, who are speaking. They are active speaker. Krishna is also there, but he is not speaking at all in the first chapter. In the entire first chapter, Krishna is not speaking anything. These are the first three personas. So the first verse is very important, spoken by Dhritarashtra. So we are going to the first verse. Okay. So we will recite this verse. One person will unmute and repeat. I will chant one line and you will repeat that line, and then I will chant the second line. But only one person will unmute, not everyone. Okay. One person, and one by one. Okay. So one person. Dhritarashtra uvacha.
Dhritarashtra uvacha.
Okay, yes. Go on, go ahead. Whoever is the first person. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre.
Dharma kshetre kurukshetre.
Samaveta yuyutsavaha.
Samavetaya yutsava.
Mamaka pandavaschaiva.
Mamaka pandavaschaiva.
Kima kurvata sanjaya.
Kima kurvata sanjaya.
Okay, anyone else who was also trying to chant? He or she got stopped, so you can also chant. Dhritarashtra uvacha.
Dhritarashtra uvacha.
One person. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. Samaveta yuyutsavaha. Mamaka pandavaschaiva. Kima kurvata sanjaya. Okay, we will see now what Dhritarashtra is telling. So it's basically a question. So Bhagavad Gita begins with a question. And who is asking question? Dhritarashtra is asking question to Sanjaya. Sanjaya is the secretary. So Sanjaya is the secretary. Dhritarashtra is asking question. What he is asking? Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. So where the war is going to happen, Kurukshetra, is a Dharma kshetra. Dharma kshetra means in that place the dharma is followed. It's a very pious place. It's a very pure place. And because it is a pure place, in that place what has happened? Yuyut sabha, yuddha karne ke liye, yuddha kami, desiring to fight. Yuyut sabha, matlab desiring to fight. Samaveta, samaveta matlab combine together, to come together. This is the most important word in this verse. Mamakaha, mine. Pandava, Pandavas. So both my sons and the Pandavas both have come in a Dharma Kshetra. Kima Kurvata Sanjaya. What is happening? Kim means what? Akurvata means what all things are happening. Tell me what all things. Give me news report. Like that Dhritarashtra is asking. Now you see, the most fundamental need. Can anyone say what is the most fundamental need of everyone?
Hare Krishna,
yes.
Food, water.
Food, water. Okay, good. What else? Huh?
Oxygen.
Oxygen, air. Shelter. Okay.
Inner peace of mind.
Peace of mind. Okay.
Fire.
Food, Prabhuji, food.
Food. Okay.
Inner peace, Prabhuji.
Peace. Okay. What I'm doing now?
Well-being of our.
Okay. Happiness. Very good. Who said happiness?
Shampa.
Very good. We want happiness. Food, shelter, all these things are required because we need happiness. How many of you think that you all can survive if you eat only roti and dal every day? How many of you think if I eat roti dal every day, I'll survive?
Sir, I think that
You'll survive?
yeah, I'm not particularly foodie. Whatever gets on my plate, I eat it.
Yes. So that's what I'm telling. Food is not only the fundamental need. We all need to be happy. Someone who is a foodie finds happiness in food. Someone who wants to travel, who is travel freaky, so he will want to travel. He's freaky about travels. He just want to frenzy about travels. Someone who is wanting to take a lot of costumes and outfits and purchase something, he's about that. Yes, correct. But ultimately, all of us, if we see, we all want to be happy in life. We want food, we want shelter, we want sleep, we want everything. But ultimately, the core reason is we want to be happy. Right? That's what we want to do in life. Now, point is, though happiness is our need, happiness is also a universal need. That means whoever has come to this class also wants all to be happy. Is there anyone who goes to temple and prays that, oh Krishna, 2024 was so much happy year. 2025, give me some misery, some little bit misery should come, little bit pain should come. How many of you have prayed like that? How many of you think that I should pray because kabhi khushi kabhi gum? We may think kabhi khushi kabhi gum, but we want only khushi, no gum. But when gum comes, so gum ko kam karne ke liye, we console our mind telling kabhi khushi kabhi gum kya kar sakte hain. How many of you understood? We want only khushi, no gum. And if gum comes, then gum ko thoda kam karne ke liye, we want to tell ourselves, okay, theek hai, it's a self-consolation. Okay, theek hai. सबके जीवन में कष्ट तो आता ही है, झेलना तो है ही, and we say and we try to tolerate it. But we need to understand, we want to be happy always. We want to be happy everywhere. We want to be happy with everyone. So Dhritarashtra's perspective is Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. My son should be happy. Mamaka Pandav Jai Bhad mein. So the first verse of Bhagavad Gita defines the problem of life. The perspective of Dhritarashtra, which is the perspective of everyone in this world. The perspective is that I want to be happy, but I forget that everyone wants to be happy. And just because for my happiness, I have no right to stop the happiness of anyone else. This is blindness. So Dhritarashtra was not just blind physically, Dhritarashtra was blind spiritually. So Dhritarashtra's wrong perception on prosperity is individual prosperity and collective adversity. मैं खुश रहूंगा, बाकी का खुशी बाढ़ में जाए. Now you see all the problems in family life, all the problems in everywhere in the society is Imagine a husband and wife. The husband thinks, I should be happy, wife जाए बाढ़ में. उसको क्या फर्क पड़ता है? Whatever happens to him, I should be happy. Wife thinks, I should be happy, husband जाए बाढ़ में. So this conception, this perspective of life is what Bhagavad Gita begins with and helps us to purify this perspective. So the first perspective that Bhagavad Gita speaks is that what is our perception on prosperity. Yes, I want to be prosperous, but not that only I want to be prosperous. Everyone wants to be prosperous. And I have no right to become an obstacle in someone's happiness. My happiness should not bring obstacles to someone else's happiness. And that's how Bhagavad Gita begins with sensitivity and teaches us this reality, which we often forget. Yes, just wait 1 minute. I'll give you opportunity to speak. Which we often forget. The reality is, I want to be happy, and the higher reality is, all want to be happy. Okay? Everyone wants to be happy. And once we understand this reality, we will be very happy, honestly. Because all our problems in life is only when we create problems in others' life. If we stop creating problems in others' life, we will also reduce our own problems. Okay? So Dhritarashtra's wrong perception on prosperity is that I will be only happy. Everyone should be happy. And that's why sensitivity is very, very important. Bhagavad Gita begins with the message for sensitivity. And we see how Dhritarashtra, he was so disturbed because of it. So stressed. And why? He had so many advisors. Vidura advised him, Akrura advised him, Krishna himself advised him. But because he was not accepting this reality, he was so stressed. And the reality is, okay, Kauravas, my sons have to be happy, but Pandavas have to be also happy. And the Pandavas were so noble, they were happy with 5 villages. And even those 5 villages were also not given. Right? Now we will see how first chapter talks about Duryodhana's state of mind. Okay? So what is Dhritarashtra's state of mind? His perception is, he had a wrong perception on perspective on prosperity. I should be happy, others jai bhaad mein. And you see Duryodhana's perspective. Okay. Anyone who had some question you wanted to ask? Yes.
I have some question.
Yeah.
In this, of course, in Mahabharata, Pandavas wanted only 5 villages and they were denied that. And for being a king, they were Kshatriyas. They needed that to have some property to rule over. But in real life situations, how can everyone be happy? There are always conflicts of interest. Suppose you gave a husband-wife example.
Yes.
So suppose that just a simple example, the husband is tired and he wants to stay at home, peacefully sleep that day, and the wife is excited to go outside.
Yes.
So in that situation, how there's everywhere there are conflicts of interest. So how
Yes.
would everybody be happy?
So there is conflict of interest, but there is a element of selflessness also. So there is one thing called selflessness, and there is one thing called suppression. Oh, sorry, not suppression. Suppression. Let me write like that. So the wife, as your example says, should not only be happy only by getting things. We should also be happy and balance it out by giving things. So we need getting things, but we should also find happiness in giving things. So that balance is also very important. If we only find happiness in getting things, then we'll be a spoiled person. So conflict of interest comes only when we behave like Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. That's why Duryodhana's example is also important. As you go ahead, all your answers will get clear. Duryodhana's thing was, I will only get and I'll be happy. So if a wife behaves like that, then she will not be happy, because getting and giving needs to be balanced. You understanding? Now sometimes the wife keeps on giving, and the husband is so ridiculous that he is not at all worried about the needs of the wife. Then the wife goes into the level of suppression. Now the wife is trying to suppress her needs to act selflessly. Then it creates problem. Then what happens? Next week also the husband says, I cannot take. Third week also the husband says. Sometimes the husband also have to sacrifice and selfless. So that balance is very, very important. Okay. So what Mahabharata also says, that the balance is important. Even at one point of time, it was decided that, okay, half of the part Duryodhana rules and half of the part Yudhishthira rules. That also was not acceptable for Duryodhana. Right? You are able to understand? Duryodhana wanted that Yudhishthira be selfless and I suppress Yudhishthira needs. Right? That is not. Our happiness should not suppress the needs of someone. Is this clear? Is this clear? Okay. Now we'll go ahead. So Duryodhana's, we will recite this verse. Aparyaptam tadasmakam. Someone who has not done it.
Aparyaptam tadasmakam.
Balam bhisma bhirakshitam.
Balam bhishma bhirakshitam.
Paryaptam to idametesham.
Paryaptam idametesham.
Balam bhima bhirakshitam.
Balam bhima bhirakshitam.
You see what Duryodhana is telling. Aparyaptam. Aparyaptam. Paryapt matlab? Anyone knows the word, meaning of the word paryapt? Paryapt. Paryapt. Sufficient. Aparyapt क्या हो जाएगा? More than sufficient. More than sufficient. So it's lot. So tad asmakam. Asmakam मतलब मेरा. अपर्याप्तम. मेरे पास अपर्याप्त है. I have lot of strength. Balam. Balam मतलब strength. Right? Why? Because I have Bhisma. I have Bhisma with me. And because I have Bhisma with me, I have unlimited strength. And Paryaptam. Twa matlab they matlab Pandavas, they have Paryapt, they have just sufficient. Balam, strength. Why? Because they have Bhima. So Duryodhana is making a comparison between Bhima and Bhisma. And he is having a wrong perception or perspective about what is real strength or power. So Duryodhana's wrong perception on power. Right? So a realistic perception and an unrealistic perception on power. Now the question is, why Bhisma fought against Pandavas? Now Bhisma, if anyone would have, is generally in South India, in the morning time, they play the Vishnu Sahasranam. Mostly in South India in the morning time, there is MS Subbalakshmi's Vishnu Sahasranam. Always it is played in the South India in the morning, right? The Vishnu Sahasranam. But you will be amazed that this Vishnu Sahasranam is spoken by Bhisma in the arrow bed. Now one may think, if Bhisma was such a great devotee of Vishnu, that at the time of death he was reciting Vishnu Sahasranam, then why did he fought against the Pandavas? So our acharyas, they say that Bhisma fought against the Pandavas because Krishna advised Bhisma to do so. And why would Krishna advise Bhisma to go against the Pandavas? Because Krishna wanted to show to the world, even if Bhisma had power, okay, Bhisma had power to win over entire army assembled. Whatever entire army was assembled in Kurukshetra, they would be kept one side along with Arjuna, Dronacharya, Yudhishthir, all in one side, Bhisma in another side. Bhisma had power to win over all of them. That was Bhisma's power. Mahabharata and Bhagavatam, they say, Bhagavatam compares Bhisma with a Timingala feast. Timingala fish is, Timi, you know, Timi much, you know, Timi fish, Timi is well. Well is called a Timi. So Bhagavatam compares Bhisma with a fish that can swallow, that is so big, that can swallow a whale. So Bhagavatam compares Bhisma to a fish which is so big, it can swallow completely the whale, blue whale. And Bhagavatam then says Arjuna was like mini Mach. Mini Mach, samajhte hain? How those who are Bengali, they understand. How many of you have seen in the pond, there is a small fish doing like this in the staircase of the pond. So Arjuna was compared to mini Mach. It is called in Bengali also mini, mini Mach or mini fish. And Timi, Bhisma to a Timi fish or a whale. So that was the power of Bhisma. And Krishna specifically wanted Bhisma on the side of the Kauravas to show the world, even if Bhisma is in the side of Adharma, Dharma will win. And that's how we need to understand that in the end of the Mahabharata, this story comes. This powerful story comes. You slept or what? So this story comes in the end of Mahabharata, that in the end, when all the war was over and all, Krishna told Arjuna that, oh Arjuna, get down from the chariot. And Arjuna said, oh Krishna, you should get down from the chariot. Krishna said, Arjuna, you get down, then I will get down. Arjuna said, Krishna, you get down and I'll get down. And then there was a little bit of discussion, debate. And then Krishna said, I am telling Krishna, you must get down first. And then Arjuna got down. He went a little ahead. And then Krishna got down. And when Krishna got down, in front of Arjuna, the entire chariot was blasted into ashes. And Mahabharata says that Krishna said to Arjuna, that Arjuna, all the warriors, everyone was just putting arrows on it, on your chariot. And because I was sitting, nothing was happening to your chariot. Otherwise, it would have been rendered to ashes much before. And that's how Gita starts with a question. All of you remember this and hear this attentively. Gita starts with a question and ends with a answer. So what was the first question? Gita starts with a question. This question. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre. Dhritarashtra asking, who will win? Who will win? Mera ya uska? Who will be winning? And it ends with the answer spoken by Sanjaya. And what is the answer? We will recite this verse. Someone who has not done it. Yatra yogeshwaraha Krishna.
Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna
Yatra partho dhanurdhara.
Yatra partho dhanurdhara.
Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir.
Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhuti.
Dhruvani Tir Matir Mama.
Dhruvani Tir Matir Mama.
Okay, Krishna is telling, Sanjay is telling, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, wherever there is Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, wherever there is Arjuna, there will be victory, there will be happiness, there will be all principles. That is my opinion. So, happiness lies on the side of source of happiness. So the first reality that we are learning, we talked about that we'll learn a lot of realities. So the first reality is we all want to be happy. We all want to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy. But where does happiness lies? Happiness lies by connecting to the source of happiness, that is Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita begins with a question, Bhagavad Gita ends with the answer, begins with the question about what is happiness. Okay, and how we have a wrong perception about happiness. I will be happy, others will not be happy. That's our Dhritarashtra consciousness. But it ends with the answer that only those who are on the side of God, who are on the side of Dharma, they will be ultimately happy. How many of you have seen Krishna? We have one family, one or two sons and daughters. We have so much of anxiety. Kaise parivar chalega? Yes, correct? How do I maintain the family? And Krishna has all of us, our sons, and we are doing really bad. We are killing each other, doing so many things, and Krishna is smiling. How many of you have seen Krishna standing like this? हाय काहे बनाया ये दुनिया, बाप रे परेशान करके रखा है. हमारा एक बेटा होता है, थोड़ा गड़बड़ करता है, हम क्या बोलते हैं? हाँ रे बाप, कौन सा दूसरा जन्म का कर्म उतार रहा है ये, परेशान कर. Correct? I don't know. Those who are married, they might be experiencing. Whenever I used to become naughty in home, in childhood, my mother used to, really restless boy. So, but we have never seen Krishna like this. Krishna is always smiling. So the first reality that Bhagavad Gita speaks about, take side of Krishna. Krishna is the source of happiness. Just like all this, my studio in which I am taking classes, it has AC, it has the lights, it has the camera, it has the screen, it has my iPad, everything is there. But all these things can only work when there is current, correct? When there is electricity. Until unless I connect everything what is there in my studio to electricity, to the power source, it's not going to work. So, we need to come to the reality that the source of happiness, the source of, please mute, satisfaction is Krishna. So that is the first reality Bhagavad Gita speaks about that we need to understand. So it begins with the question, where is the source? Who will win? Who will be happy? My sons or the Kauravas or the Pandavas? Who will win? Who will win? Dhritarashtra asking. And it ends with the answer that those who take the side of Krishna, they will win in life. Those who take the side of Krishna, they will find ultimate happiness. And the sixth, so the first verse is a question. The last verse, the 700th verse, is a answer. And remaining 698 verses of Bhagavad Gita are explanations. So what is the explanation? कैसे कृष्ण के साइड में आना है, how to come to the side of Krishna, how to live on the side of Krishna. How many of you are understanding this? Okay, so we began with reality, and we saw that how reality makes us happy and how reality makes us stress free. And the first reality that Bhagavad Gita speaks about begins with the first verse, that where is victory, where is success, where is satisfaction, whether my sons will be satisfied and successful or my Pandavas will be successful. And then Sanjay answers in the last that how those who take side of God, those who take side of Krishna, they will be victorious. And the remaining 698 verses in Bhagavad Gita is an explanation of how to take side of Krishna. How to take side of Krishna, how to go and follow Krishna properly, right? So this is what is the first part of the chapter 1. The first part of the chapter 1 speaks about the reality of the source of happiness. No matter whatever we do in life, we may have all types of facilities in life. The source of prosperity, the reality of prosperity comes from the source of prosperity, source of happiness. Sometimes we may think that if I have a lot of things in life, right? So sometimes people see these monks, all of us, how he is so happy. One time I was going in a cab, and in the cab, I was talking in phone with someone in English. So the cab driver was shocked कि ये स्वामी जी इंग्लिश में बोल रहे हैं, किससे बात कर रहे हैं? And he asked, who are you? Then I told about myself. You know what the cab driver said? कि स्वामी जी, why didn't you work 1 year and collected some money? And if you would have worked 1 year, and what was the first salary which you rejected the job, you left? I said it was 20 lakhs that time in 2009. Yeah, so Swamiji, 20 lakhs. If you would have worked 1 year, Swamiji, and given that 20 lakh to me, I would not have worked for entire year, entire life. I said, इसीलिए मैं हूँ क्या, तुम काम नहीं करेगा इसीलिए मैं काम करूँ. But understand one thing, that people think if I have money, I can be happy. But I have met a lot of people who have money, they're not happy. People think if I have home and house, I'll be happy. But I have met a lot of people who have home. I don't have a home. They're not happy. People think if I have a lot of beauty, I'll be happy. If I have a lot of knowledge, I'll be happy. Happiness is not in things of the world. In happiness is in how we use those things of this world. How many of you understood what I said? Happiness is not in things of the world. Happiness in how we are using the things of this world. So the reality is the prosperity, the reality of prosperity in life is when we connect with Krishna. And Bhagavad Gita, all the 698 verses of Bhagavad Gita helps us connect with Krishna, the source of all satisfaction, source of all prosperity. And especially Krishna wanted Bhisma to be on the other side to show that even if Bhisma is on the side, still you'll not be happy, you'll not be prosperous if you are not on my side, you are not on the side of Krishna. Right? Going ahead, the second reality that Bhagavad Gita in the first chapter speaks about by telling Arjuna's life. Arjuna. Now Arjuna, you see what he is telling, right? We will read some of the statements of Bhagavad Gita first chapter to tell what was Arjuna's point of view or what was Arjuna facing at the time of the first chapter. Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, seeing my friends, relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. This is ultimate stress. Yes? If you go to a doctor and tell Arjuna is speaking like this or anyone speaking, the doctor will, you are in stress, I think. My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on my end. My bow is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning. Sanjay said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. So this is Arjuna's state of mind. So Arjuna had a wrong perception about purpose of the war. Okay. So we discussed about 3 wrong perceptions. The first one was the wrong perception on prosperity. The second one was the wrong perception on power. And from there we derived the first lesson from Bhagavad Gita, that is, reality is power and prosperity comes only when we connect with the source, that is Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita tells that come to reality, understand, without connecting with the source of power, prosperity, happiness, you will not be happy in life. No matter whatever you do in life, you will not be finally feeling satisfied. And the third one is purpose. I may have a lot of power by connecting with Krishna. I may have a lot of prosperity by connecting with God. Like sometimes I have seen, I'll give an example. How many of you have seen people, I have seen over so many years in temple, I have seen so many people coming with a big order list. With a big order list they will come, and they will come with the order list and they'll say Krishna, they will say Krishna to tick. Krishna, गाड़ी चाहिए, कार चाहिए, घर चाहिए, ये चाहिए, कब देगा? कब देगा? When you will give? So they come with a big order list to temple, and if most of the order list are clear, then Krishna is a good God. And if it is not clear, I think I should find out some other option. This temple is not Jagrat. I'll find a Jagrat Devta, Jagrat temple. I'll go to Jagrat Devta. So, most of us so first of all, there are people who don't come to God. That is the first category of people. उनको भगवान से लेना देना कुछ नहीं, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, ये सब बकवास है. They don't believe, they don't really worry कि there is something higher, something I have to work. They're really not bothered about it. They're really not bothered about any spirituality. They're not bothered about any principles in life. But among those who come to spirituality, they come with a big, heavy order list. And when we come with an order list, we should also know what is the purpose of learning Bhagavad Gita. What is the purpose of life? Or what is the purpose of all the fulfillment of the order list? And we will see how Arjuna had a wrong perception about purpose of the war. Okay, we will recite this verse. Nacha sreyo nu pashyami. Hatva swajanamahave. Nakamshe vijayam Krishna. Nacharajyam sukhani cha. So you see what Arjuna is telling. Nacha sreyo nu pashyami. I don't see. Pashyami matlab dekhna. I don't see I had said na, देखना. So all these people are देख रहे हैं. अर्जुन क्या देख रहा है? नच्चो श्रेयो, मेरे को कुछ अच्छा तो दिख नहीं रहा है युद्ध करके. Like that Arjuna is telling. नच्चो श्रेयो, श्रेयो मतलब अच्छा. मेरे को अच्छा कुछ नहीं. I am not finding anything happy. I am not finding हत्वा. हत्वा मतलब hit, मार के. By killing. स्वजन, मेरे खुद के जन को मार के, युद्ध करके, by kill my own people and in the battlefield, I don't see anything good. न कांक्षे विजयम कृष्ण. I don't want Vijay, O Krishna. I don't want victory, O Krishna. न कांक्षा मतलब मेरा कांक्षा नहीं है. I don't. न च राज्यम सुखानि च. I don't want राज्य सुख also. I don't want to become king, O Krishna. मेरे को राजा बनने का सुख नहीं चाहिए. So what was Arjuna's point of view of the purpose of the war? Can anyone tell? What was Arjuna's point of view of the purpose of the war?
He was thinking that he was fighting this battle for his power.
He was thinking he was fighting this battle for his happiness, his power, his becoming king. So he was thinking that the war has a purpose to make him the king. Make him the king. So that was wrong. And we also often act like Arjuna. That's why we neglect responsibilities. We get distracted. I do what my mind feels good. Arjuna was also thinking like that. His mind was not feeling good and he forgot the purpose. The real purpose was to not make Arjuna the king. The real purpose was to establish dharma. To establish the right principles. It's not that Duryodhana has to be killed in the war because Duryodhana is doing something to Arjuna. But Duryodhana was setting the wrong example. Duryodhana did what he did to Draupadi, and that sets a wrong example. Later on, anyone can come and do anything with any lady and say, देखो राजा तो कर रहा है, मैं तो फिर क्या कर सकता हूं ना? Correct? If the king does like this, what the whole world will do, what the whole citizens will do? Arey, if the king can do, if the king can bring the Bahurani of the home and do all these things, exploit the Bahurani on the assembly, so can I not exploit a lady? So Duryodhana has to be murdered, Duryodhana has to be killed and taken out from the position of king, not because Arjuna has to be made king, but a person of the right caliber has to be made king. But Arjuna thought what? Oh, the purpose of the war is to make me king, and that's why I don't want to become king, and that's why I don't want to fight. So, the purpose of life is not just we need to learn how to become responsible in life. And all career and financial instabilities, inferiority complex, relationship issues, everything comes from not understanding that the purpose is to behave responsibly. Especially humans are meant for behaving responsibly. And if we see the right purpose of violence, Bhagavad Gita is not a book of ahimsa. Neither Bhagavad Gita is a book of himsa. Bhagavad Gita is a book that violence is required. Especially when there is a war. Like for example, if there is a war, if someone is doing something wrong, so then the aggressor, the terrorist has to be killed. In a war, if a soldier kills a terrorist, he doesn't get punished. Why? Because the terrorist is supposed to be killed. And why he is supposed to be killed? Because of not following the dharma, not following the right principles. So Arjuna was telling this interesting verse. You see how Arjuna is affected by his mind and all these things. You see what? We'll read this verse and we'll almost end. Papam eva shayad asman
Papam evashrayam asman
hatvetan atataina
atvetan atataina
tasman narha vayam hamtu
tasmanaraha vayam hantu
dhrartra rashtran sabandhava.
Dhritarashtrān savandhanam.
So you see what Arjuna is telling. पापम एवा शयद अस्मान. अरे मेरे को पाप लग जाएगा दुर्योधन को मारूंगा तो. Just see. Imagine the soldier in the border is telling, नहीं terrorist को नहीं मारूंगा, पाप लग जाएगा. That's what Krishna is telling. That means he is not understanding the purpose. Right? So we need to understand the third principle that Bhagavad Gita says is that the reality is to understand the purpose of life is to live according to principles led by Krishna. And take responsibility. Someone may say, अरे कृष्ण ने इतना बड़ा युद्ध करवाया and Krishna made so many people to fight in the war and did so much of things. But we need to understand, actually, the even war is also required because we have to take responsibility of the right purpose. The king has a right and responsibility to punish those who are miscreants, those who are doing wrong. And Arjuna was foolishly thinking that I will go away from his responsibilities and go away from my responsibilities because I will get some sin and all those things. And we need to understand with all these people who had wrong perceptions. Duryodhana had wrong perceptions. Dhritarashtra had wrong perceptions. Arjuna had wrong perceptions. All the three had wrong perceptions. But at the end, Arjuna understood the right way, but Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra didn't understand because Arjuna accepted Krishna's message. Arjuna accepted Krishna's message, and that's why we need to understand that we may have wrong perception, but if we accept Krishna in our life, and accepting Krishna means accepting Krishna's words and accepting Krishna's will. So, a very wonderful philosopher, English Western philosopher, has told a very nice definition of prayer, which I always like. He says that prayer is not to tell God what we want from Him. Prayer is not to tell God what we want from Him. Prayer is to hear from God what He wants from us. So that's the purpose. The purpose, so the reality of purpose is to not go with an order list to Krishna. Is not to have an order list in life. But the real purpose is to understand. So Krishna, Arjuna had his own order list. His own perceptions of what is the purpose of the war. But we need to understand that stress comes when we don't accept words of God. Like Duryodhana, Krishna went and gave so much of advice to Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra. They didn't follow the words of God. And for Arjuna, Arjuna was not following the will of God. So the reality is to accept the reality that we will be happy and everyone will be happy when they follow both the words of God and the will of God. So Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, they didn't follow the words of God. And Arjuna was not trying to follow the will of God, but later on, he accepted his mistake. He heard Bhagavad Gita and finally followed the will of God. So Bhagavad Gita is a book, how to come to the side of Krishna, how to live with Krishna, how to live with the words of Krishna, how to live with the will of Krishna. And more we align ourselves, we resonate ourselves with the words of God and the will of God, more and more we will find happiness in life. Because Krishna is the source of happiness. Right? All around we are observing with our own vision and with our wrong perceptions of what is right, what is wrong. And Bhagavad Gita says, this is right, this is wrong. And we accept it. And more we accept it according to what the words and the will of God, we will be happy. Okay? So we will summarize. So first we started with reality. Last class we discussed about so many realities, and we discussed that every class we will discuss about some realities, how Bhagavad Gita brings us to reality. And then we discussed about how the first chapter is about observing the army and how perception and observation is a very much related to how we become unhappy or stressed in our life. We discussed about Dhritarashtra's stress. We discussed about Duryodhana. We discussed about Arjuna. We saw how Dhritarashtra had a wrong perception about what is prosperity. And we discussed about Duryodhana, who had a wrong perception about power. So perception about power and prosperity. And then we saw how Bhagavad Gita begins with a question on where is power, where is prosperity, and ends with the answer that power and prosperity and happiness lies only on the side of Krishna. And when we take the side of the words of Krishna, and we also take the side of the will of Krishna. And we also discussed about how Arjuna was not ready to follow the will of Krishna. He was thinking the war, the purpose of the war is for him making a king. And when Arjuna accepted it, he also find himself peaceful and happy. Okay, so the first reality is accept Krishna as the source of prosperity, source of power, and source of purpose. Our real life will be happy when we live a life more aligned with the words and will of Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita is to help us align ourselves to the words and will of God. Right? Okay? Hare Krishna. Anyone has any question? I think there are some questions. Okay, so okay, Hare Krishna. Why Bhisma wasn't like what was the reason after knowing Duryodhana is bad person? So that was the reason. Bhisma was on the side because Krishna advised Bhisma to be on the side. And our acharyas, they say that Bhisma was specifically put by Krishna on his side so that Krishna wanted to show to the world that even if Bhisma is there, still people will not win. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else has any question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay, yes. Shruti and then
What is the difference between being spiritual and being religious?
Very good. Nice question. So what is spiritual? And what is religious? So religious spirituality includes religious behavior, right? So spiritual is a word that comes from spirit plus ritual. And religion is basically based on rituals. Different activities that we have to do. But when we understand the spirit behind these rituals, whatever we are doing, then we become spiritual. From a religious person, we become spiritual. Like for example, I'll give an example. We offer diya to Krishna. We come to temple, we offer diya to Krishna. So we are a religious person. But we understand why we have to offer diya, then we are a spiritual person. We worship Bhagavad Gita. But we understand why we worship Bhagavad Gita and how to follow Bhagavad Gita, then we are a spiritual person. And then we respect another person. But we understand why we respect another person, then we'll become spiritual. We love our wife and we take care of our wife. We take care of our husband. But we understand why we should take care of our wife and husband and why we should love, then we become spiritual. So spiritual is a very broad term. It's not that spiritual only means, spiritual means any activity you do. When we understand the spirit, right purpose behind that activity. That's what the first chapter in Bhagavad Gita speaks about. Perception about the purpose. Like Arjuna was fighting the war, thinking that spirit of the war is Main Raja Banna. So then he is not spiritual. And Bhagavad Gita is a book on spirituality because Bhagavad Gita helped Arjuna to take the right spirit behind the Kurukshetra war. Is this clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Yes, Muskan, I think, raised hand, or someone else was there. Who else was asking anything?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask one thing. After the session, how we can make the best use of it? Do we read Bhagavad Gita after this? Or what do we need to do?
Okay,
that
very
we can-
good. Very good. So I forgot to share the notes. I can share the notes. And there is a book that I have written. Whatever I am speaking in a little more elaborate form. The book is Resonate with Divinity. This book speaks the same concepts little elaborately. So you can read this as a supplement for our classes. That will help you more understand, and plus there are some practical stories also, with that stories related with wisdom, and that will help you more grasp the subject, and especially little bit of supplement reading is also required. So this book Resonate with Divinity you read. Okay, and I will also share the notes. I forgot to share the notes. Okay, anyone else? Is it clear, Muskan?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, anyone else?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please.
I joined the session this late because there has been an ongoing classes. The kindergarten starts at 11. So I joined little late after settling there.
Okay.
So I got to understand that there are few principles of Bhagavad Gita. So third principle you told that is purpose.
Yes.
So what was the first two? I just missed those
Oh,
2 points.
The
Does that make sense?
first two is prosperity and power. The right perception about prosperity and the right perception about power. So these three things: prosperity, power, and purpose. Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Sir,
Yes.
there's a movement in US
Huh.
that these days quite a few youngsters they say that we are spiritual, we're not religious.
Yes.
So I have to say spirit plus ritual that comprises what religion is all about.
Yes.
So religion is not actually without spirit. It's not only about rituals. That's
But
what
not
you say.
necessarily. We can have baseless. We can have baseless religion also. Not necessarily. It's not necessarily that all religions will have the spirit. Not necessarily. So, spiritual is the broad term. Some religions, they may teach what is the basis of the rituals. Some religions may not teach. So, that's why we are not much worried about religion. We are worried about following spiritual principles. There is no mention in Bhagavad Gita about Hinduism. There is no mention in Bhagavad Gita about Muslim. There is no mention about Bhagavad Gita in Christianity. These religions, what we are talking about, is basically based on body. And Bhagavad Gita speaks on the basis of soul. The Hindu, the Muslim, the Christian, everyone is equal on the basis of soul. Not just Hindu, Muslim, Christian and human beings, even the animals. Even the Bhagavad Gita says a verse, you can read the verse in the 5th chapter. Vidya Binaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Suni Chaiva Sopakecha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. So Bhagavad Gita speaks about equality on the basis of soul. That even a animal or a cow or a dog or an elephant or a lady or a man or a woman or a Hindu, Indian, whatever, whoever, all are equal on the basis of soul. And since Bhagavad Gita gives knowledge on the basis of soul, it is a book on spirituality. It's not a book on religion. Religion means you are born in a pranta. You understand? You are born in a pranta, and based on the pranta, you do some rituals. And that may be also required. Like for example, I'll tell you, those who are born in Bengal, Odisha, they have to take rice. It's a ritual to take rice. And it is good to take rice because so much of heat, so much of humidity, if you take only rotis, your stomach will get upset. But those who are born in North India, the ritual is not to take rice, you take wheat. And it is good to take wheat there because so much of dryness, wheat is required. So rituals are based on prantas. Certain prantas, certain rituals are done so that which is conducive to that prantas, to that place. But spiritual is beyond pranta. Pranta, you understand? Reasons. Right? And pranta also means families. Sometimes a person is born in a Hindu family, so he follows Hindu rituals. Someone is born in a Muslim family, he follows Muslim rituals. Okay, he may be born in a Muslim family because of which he is following the Muslim rituals, but he may not be spiritual. He may be born in a Hindu family because of the ritual, he may be worshipping Bhagavad Gita, but is not spiritual. Just being born in a Hindu family, that doesn't make him spiritual. Right? So, we need to understand that rituals are based on reasons. It's not universal. But spiritual is universal principle. Okay? Is this clear? And that's why, because there are so much of hatred, so much of conflicts between religions, some Western thought process and schools of thoughts are telling that, better not be religious, better be spiritual. And it's good. It's good. There is nothing wrong in it. But we need to also understand what is right spirituality. We cannot have our own definition of spirituality. And we cannot reject Bhagavad Gita telling you Hindu ka kitab hai. You find out any single word in Bhagavad Gita which says about Hindu and Hinduism. You tell me. Hindu means you are immediately telling yourself as a body, correct? Who is Hindu? Tell me. Who is born in a Hindu family? That means your body is a Hindu. But your soul, can soul be called Hindu, Muslim, Christian? Soul is neither Hindu nor Muslim nor Christian nor Zoroastrian nor a lady nor a man. The soul is soul. So Bhagavad Gita is a book of spirituality. It's not a book of religion because it deals with spirit, soul, which is universal. American is also spirit soul. Indian is also spirit soul. But given that, that doesn't mean that religion is not required. Just because you are reading Bhagavad Gita, that doesn't mean that you start eating roti in Bengal. No, you may have to eat rice in Bengal. But just because you are eating rice in Bengal, that doesn't make you spiritual. You are understanding? Eating rice in Bengal, that is a tradition. Similarly, Hindu people born in Hindu family, the tradition is go to temples. They may be going to temples, but it's not necessary that they are spiritual. And the Westerners, the Americans may not go to temple, they may go to church. That also doesn't make them spiritual. What they are doing in temple and what they are doing in church and what they are doing in masjid, that is important. That will make them spiritual. Okay? This is clear? Any book, any religious book or any spiritual book which deals on the level of soul can be called spiritual. That's why spiritual, another word is, another meaning of spiritual word is spirit plus ritual. Means the rituals or the activities connected directly with spirit, not the body. That is also spiritual. You're able to understand? These are the two definitions of spiritual. Anything else?
Wait, Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question.
Please.
Prabhuji, Kurukshetra place is sacred before the war happened, or else because war happened it became sacred place?
No, it was sacred before. Okay, I missed the point. Kurukshetra was very sacred beforehand, because in Kurukshetra there is Simanta Panchak. The Kurukshetra have been, many sages used to go to Kurukshetra for performing sacrifices. Kurukshetra is blessed. The land is blessed that if you do anything, you will automatically become dharmic just by being in Kurukshetra. That's the speciality of Kurukshetra. That's the blessing, benediction that place has. And Parshuram, he went to Kurukshetra. When Parshuram actually killed all the kings who were becoming very bad and they were becoming upstart. So Parshuram finally came to Kurukshetra and did tapasya there. So Kurukshetra has been blessed from Parshuram's time, from Lord Ram's time. Okay?
Okay. My last question, Prabhuji. Did anyone went to Dhritarashtra and informed, spoke to him to guide his sons, why they are into wrong path? Because everyone...
Did anyone name? Who didn't go? You asked like this question. Who didn't go?
Oh, okay. Who didn't go? Okay, everyone went.
Given an option, Krishna would have sent you also. Krishna made a declaration at that time. A booty. Anyone who can go and convince Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana would get lot of wealth. Some 20 lakh, 1 crore, lot of gold coins. So if you would have been also there and raised your hand that I can convince Dhritarashtra, then Krishna would have sent you also. Krishna was ready to do anything.
Okay. Why Dhritarashtra was so much this perspective which he had on prosperity, which you mentioned first one. But when he knows his brother was such a kind person who is not there anymore, and why he was so much that.
Can I tell about Dhritarashtra something? And I will tell you about Yudhishthira and Draupadi. You know what Dhritarashtra and all the Duryodhana they did to Draupadi. You see the nobility of this lady Draupadi. After the war, still Dhritarashtra didn't leave the kingdom. Still Dhritarashtra was king even after the war. Dhritarashtra was king even after the war, and Yudhishthira was not the king. And Dhritarashtra was the king and Yudhishthira was under Dhritarashtra. He was still on the throne even after the war. And Draupadi was still serving Dhritarashtra as the king. That is Draupadi. Sometimes we don't understand from the characters who is this lady Draupadi and what is the character of Draupadi. Just imagine your own father-in-law disrobing you in public, and he is left with all his sons getting killed. Still Draupadi was behaving and serving Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. And now hear more what Bhagavatam says. And then what happened is Vidura, you know Vidura, who is the younger brother of Dhritarashtra, he became very frustrated. He came one day and he scolded Dhritarashtra, his elder brother, and said him, you are like a dog. You are like a dog. If you read the Bhagavatam pages, like the way Vidura is speaking to Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra really got shaken up. He's Dhritarashtra. Dhrita matlab determined to be the king. So then with the Vidura's chastisements, Dhritarashtra leaves overnight only the kingdom. You know what? Next day when Draupadi doesn't find Dhritarashtra. Draupadi cries, what will happen to my father-in-law, where they will go in the old age? When I read that, I started crying. My goodness, I want to really meet this lady, fall at her feet and put my head on her feet. How can you be like this, It's like, hey, impossible. Impossible, I'm telling you, for someone to do like this. Draupadi was crying, and then Narad Muni comes and says, don't cry. He has done good. He has left. It is for his good. He has already done a lot of wrong things. He needs to do some tapasya, get purified. You also, Draupadi and Yudhishthir, you don't cry. Krishna will also leave. You also leave. And then over. Don't do all these things. But still, Draupadi and Yudhishthir, they were so kind, so generous, so noble. Every generous person in this world gets exploited. That is also another example of Mahabharata, right? So every generous person gets exploited. So that also lesson we should learn, that this Dhritarashtra and Gandhari really took advantage of the generosity of Yudhishthira and Draupadi. That is not recommended. It's not recommended. Draupadi's behavior and Yudhishthir's behavior is not recommended, but we should always appreciate कि जो द्रौपदी कर सकती है हम नहीं कर सकते. मैं तो नहीं कर सकता. If you can do, you can do. I cannot do. Even after practicing bhakti for 20 years, I can honestly say right now that if someone exploits me, I can't behave like Draupadi. I can behave like Bhima, ready to punch him on the face. But I cannot behave like Draupadi. I cannot behave like Yudhishthir. So that doesn't mean that we are not pure. We all have a personality, but we should always respect and adore the personality of Yudhishthir and Draupadi. Though we may not be able to follow them, we cannot imitate Draupadi. You will imitate Draupadi, you will die. You will imitate Yudhishthir, you will die. But both. Bhima was not like that. Bhima and Arjuna was always their blood. How can you exploit us like this? But Yudhishthir was very noble soul, very noble. Ajata Satru. Yudhishthir was called Ajata Satru. He never considered anyone as his enemy. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
When I read it first time, that was, I never knew that. I never knew this. When I read this in Bhagavatam, actually Srimad Bhagavatam speaks about the nobility of Yudhishthir and Draupadi a lot in the first canto. Later on, when your Bhagavad Gita gets over, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see amazing how you will fall in love with both of them. You will fall in love with Draupadi. When I read, I said that I must meet Draupadi and tell me, amazing, how did you do it? How can someone do it? Just imagine being exploited in the assembly and Dhritarashtra not speaking anything, your father-in-law sitting and not telling anything, you're being disrobed and exploited. 20 lakh people were there in the assembly. In front of 20 lakh people, Draupadi was disrobed, attempted, and it was Krishna who saved her. And the same Draupadi, when the king is sitting, Dhritarashtra, her own father-in-law, in front of 20 lakh people, he is exploited. Same Draupadi served in such menial way, in such humble way, Dhritarashtra, thinking that, oh, the sons have left, what this old, my father-in-law will do. We must really, really, really adore Draupadi, and really, her character is on like our own head. We cannot imitate. We must really understand what a wonderful lady she was. And we sometimes when we read, we may think, oh, these characters are just fictitious characters. No, they really walked on our earth. And we really need to appreciate them. Such ladies were there, just imagine, Matlab, Draupadi's motherly affection was so overwhelming that she can forget everything, all the exploitation that happened to her. Just, she was a mother to motherly affection for Dhritarashtra. Can you imagine? So that is the example of our ladies in our Vedic times. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for asking this question. I really, because I remembered all these things. Hare Krishna, and I hope everyone's question is answered. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.